Hello and welcome to Ode to Games. I'm Kevin Valleen, joined alongside Logan Plant. How you doing, Logan?
Doing well. I have some pickups to share, some show and
Ooh,
tell.
yeah. All the
It's been,
3DS. I mean, we are going to talk about that last week, but
are we?
we
Okay.
were, but it got
Yeah,
we kind of got
got pushed up.
preoccupied with other stuff. We got Zach Ross as well. How you doing, Zach?
I'm doing pretty good. I have not picked up much over the
You
last
just pick
week,
up
so
my
nothing.
games.
I know. I've got a
It's
huge
true.
Just
3DS collection and I paid $0
yeah,
for it.
it's incredible how that works out. Before we get into all of that stuff and some great news with State of Play, what a show that was. Our
Huge show.
Uncharted spoilercast is going to be later in the show. We've got
Nice.
some games beaten, some big games. We've got Elden Ring. We've got
We did
Strangers of
not beat Elden
Paradise.
Ring.
But first, we're going to start off with Horizon Forbidden West. Both of you guys have finished the game. And I know that thoughts were mixed on certain aspects of the game when we were talking about it before. What are your thoughts on it now that the main story has wrapped? Logan, I'll start with you.
Yeah, I enjoyed it overall. I think that I did like it a little bit more than the first one, than Zero Dawn. But the problems I had with it kind of persisted throughout, but also the things I liked about it persisted throughout. I think that the machine enemy design is fantastic. There are some awesome boss fights in the latter half of the game that are new monsters to Forbidden West, not seen in Zero Dawn, that they also kept under wraps pretty well in the pre-release promotion for the game. So they were some cool, surprising boss fights that came in the second half. But the open world, still, I was not just a huge fan of its design by the end, and just the sheer amount of icons and bloat on the map, just it still did bug me. So I really entered beeline mode in the second half. You can see where it changes. You can see the first half of the game I'm exploring, I'm trying to go into other areas, and then the entire western half of the map is just straight lines to the next main mission marker, because at a certain point I just wanted to wrap the thing up to move on to some other things. But I did enjoy it a lot overall. Main story was a little mixed for me. There's this really jargon heavy sci-fi plot which didn't sit as well with me, but then the personal stories of Aloy's companions and the different settlements did stick with me, and I did end up enjoying those a lot. So I thought it was good, not great, not probably won't end up being one of my favorites of the year, but I'm definitely glad I played it for just those PS5 showcase boss fights and some of the smaller story moments that I did enjoy.
Zach, what were your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm in a pretty similar boat. I think I liked it a lot. Didn't love it. Um, really enjoyed the combat. I think I liked the story more towards the end, the way it crescendoed and wrapped up the story with the final area leading into the setup for what is much more likely a third game in
They
the
set it up
series.
uh
They set it
pretty
up
Oh yeah.
clearly.
pretty hard.
We're
So yeah,
going.
I'm very convinced there's going to be probably a third and final game in the series. So looking forward to that. I think the story at the end hooked me enough to keep me going for the third entry, and I do think I like the second one a little bit more than the first one as well. So yeah, overall, I think the highlight of the story was definitely doing like the party members. You can kind of call them that, but they don't really do much outside of just waiting at the base. But they each have their own individual side quests for the most part, and doing those near the end I found very enjoyable. I thought all the side characters were pretty interesting, especially compared to Aloy, who's kind of kind of annoying. But the recent patch did make her talk less
Oh, they
about her
patched out her
stash.
voice
They patched out her voice,
a
so
little bit.
Just her stash, just talking
yeah,
about like sending
not like
excess items to
solving
storage.
puzzles, like
Yeah, that's
making
still all
glide.
there.
Oh
Yeah, that's
wow,
still
okay.
in there.
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
half
and then
addressed.
some stuff you unlock in the later half of the game I really enjoyed, like different modes of travel.
I want to talk about that real quick. Don't want to
Sure.
spoil it because it's a pretty cool thing that you get that changes the game of traversal. I think it's the best part of the game besides Machine Strike. The board game was still the highlight of Horizon Forbidden West
Barely
for me.
touched it. Yep.
But the best part of Horizon Forbidden West, you don't get until there are two main missions left. It's this entirely new mode of travel that totally changes how you look and interact with the world map. It's phenomenal, and you get it at the tail end of the game. And it's so cool, but it's just a little frustrating. It's like, man, if this had come in at the halfway point, I'd probably feel totally differently about this game because it was so much fun. and you just get it right at the end. And it's like, yeah, you could go back and finish filling out the map doing different side quests with this new mode of travel, but I'm not going to. I'm sure a lot of people aren't going to. So for people that do, it's great that they can now use that really cool new thing that you get at the end. But for people like me that were pretty much bowing out after the main story, I'm like, man, that's so cool. And I only got to do it for like 5 minutes and then it's gone. So that was something that frustrated me a little bit.
Yeah, it's interesting when games give you certain like extra perks or certain things that are like, whoa, this is really cool, but I'm done with the game. Either you're done with the main story or it's like 100% completion bonus. Where it's like, why are you giving this to me now? I could have used this a long time ago. That's a little disappointing. Is there any moment in the game that'll stick out to you in a couple of years? Any moment that you think back and you're like, oh, that was cool, or like, oh, that was stupid, or like any sort of moment that you'll look back on?
There were a couple moments where I just like sat back and thought that this is the most gorgeous open world I've ever seen. Especially with some of the areas you end up going to in the main story, and some of the nicer moments with the side characters, I think will stick with me. Not a lot of really bad moments that I thought stood out. I think it was actually pretty solid overall.
There's one really specific moment that'll stick out with me. I know that Zach likes it too. There's an area, a mission where you're going to a new area of the map, and there's a couple steps you have to do to really make this area gorgeous and beautiful again, because it's kind of broken down. And then when you do, it's nighttime, and it's just a beautiful place to look at night, and just like see what you accomplished during that main mission. And yeah, it's just, that's the highlight of the game.
That's the moment I was referring to.
Yeah, yeah, just this really, really gorgeous area that's super cool is definitely the highlight.
It's always nice
just the visuals in general,
like tangibly see something that you created in something like that. If you're like rebuilding something, definitely want to play it at some point. Whenever I get a PS5, definitely want to check.
Definitely
it out.
worth playing. It is beautiful. It is one of the most gorgeous games I've seen, and the combat is still really, really fantastic. And yeah, just those machines. Also, my favorite boss fight happened to be in that area that I'm talking about. So that was my favorite like hour of the game. Was like, this is super, super cool.
All right. Want to hop into another recent release? Elden Ring.
Oh, yeah.
It's a lot of fun.
I'm surprised that we're sitting here with two people who are playing it. I thought it was going to be maybe Zach, and that was it. But both of you guys been playing Elden Ring as well. What are your thoughts on that, Zach? I'll go with you first.
Yeah, I actually bit the bullet. I wasn't 100% convinced that I was going to play it, but I just decided to bite the bullet and buy it.
And you liked Bloodborne a lot before.
I liked Bloodborne a lot. I did not play it by myself. I played it with some friends. So this is my first time going in solo to one of the Soulsborne games. And it shows, because this game is extremely hard and it is kicking my butt, which I totally expected it to, but it's not the, like, I'm going to put this game down forever kind of kicking your butt. It's the, okay, gonna, keep bashing my head against a wall until I actually make progress, but in a fun kind of way. So I'm actually liking it a lot. And then once I told Logan that I bought it, he was like, okay, I'll buy it too. We can help each other out if necessary. Maybe, hopefully going forward. We tried out some multiplayer tonight, so we'd be able to talk about it. It did not work.
Oh, we couldn't figure it out.
We do not know why.
Yeah.
Is it just co-op, or I don't remember how those work? Is it co-op, or do you like? I remember like people would drop in and they could like be in your world, and then they could kill you or something. That was in the older Dark Souls games.
Yeah, so there's like cooperative summon signs and competitive summon signs. So you can summon in a friend to help you fight enemies, but it's a complicated thing where you need in-game consumable items in order to summon people into your world.
Okay.
And you need like passcodes and lobbies and crap like that along with these items, and it's never easy. And we looked up a tutorial to get it to work, and we still couldn't get it. And Logan said he saw some people talking about the multiplayer not working right now, so it might be down. We don't know, but we couldn't get it to work.
We'll try again in the next week, and hopefully report back next week and have had a successful multiplayer session.
Not usually ideal when you have to look up a tutorial to figure out how to do multiplayer, but hopefully it works soon.
Yeah, a lot of this game just sends you off on your own. Doesn't really hold your hand at all. You just got to figure it out. Absolutely incredible open world. No hand holding, no icons. Pretty much anywhere. There's areas, basically the bonfires. They're called graces, where you can touch and teleport back to. So there's a good fast travel and a hub area that you can go to upgrade your weapons. No enemies, kind of relax, because every area in this open world has something that you can't kill. Like, especially right away, like you're walking down a path right next to where you start and there's just a dragon. He's just there and he's terrifying. Or there's this guy on a horse with a giant shield and a real strong urge to chase after you and kill you. It's just a terrifying world, but it really keeps you on your toes. And once you do figure out the way forward, it feels very rewarding because it is easy to get sidetracked in these games. There's a lot of different areas and optional bosses and stuff like that you can get, and the combat system is direct Soulsborne. There's nothing seeming. I don't know how unique it is because I haven't played a lot of Dark Souls games outside of Bloodborne, but it seems like it's pretty deep. It seems shallow at first, but I just found out I could dual wield axes, which I thought was super, which I had no idea. And I don't know if I would have ever figured that out. It didn't really tell me about it. I just kind of had to figure it out on my own because my starting class started with an axe and a shield. So I just assumed that's what I had, but I could replace my shield with another axe. So I think it's actually got a lot of variations if you really look into it, and your starting class doesn't actually lock you into anything. It's just recommendations to start on the type of build you want to go for. So I think that's really cool. Yeah, the game's absolutely gorgeous. Like I said, I'm only 6 hours into it. Just got to the second required boss. The first required boss was, holy crap, really difficult. Had to do some grinding to get past him, but eventually did. And Logan also just got past him as well. So we're in pretty similar points. Yeah, but absolutely loving it so far. I think it takes like 90 or so hours to beat this game, roughly on average. I've got quite a
some more
ways to go.
content.
And yeah,
I think that's really if you do pretty much all the side stuff from what I've seen. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. How long to beat like the main story? I've seen like 40, 45 hours.
Okay, so, that's still pretty good.
It's pretty good length, yeah.
The side stuff might be too enticing to pass up. I don't know. Haven't really got to much side stuff, but done quite a bit of exploring, especially the first area. Apparently the first boss is just skippable because I found a way around the castle. It was like really hidden, and I was just like, okay, I guess I could just move on with the game if I wanted to.
Just leave, Yeah.
Decided to go back.
I don't want to fight
think those little things are really cool. So it really feels like I'm having a unique experience. Not a lot of other Elden Ring players are having the exact experience that I am having, which is a pretty cool feeling.
Logan, what are your thoughts as a relative newcomer beyond what, Sekiro? Oh.
Yeah, I played like 2 hours of Sekiro. I've already played more of this, and man, I think I'm in love with this game. I think it is like exactly the type of open world game I was craving after Horizon. We talked about it a little bit last weekend with our Horizon impressions that like I want that game that just drops you in and doesn't tell you anything or where to go. And I was kind of thinking about it, and it's like when you are exploring a city for the first time and you have a destination in mind, right? And you're going to a restaurant, you plug it into your phone and you just like follow your phone GPS. You don't really take in any of your surroundings. You don't remember anything about the drive it actually took you to get to that place. But if you just drive around the city and discover things for yourself, I think you actually build that mental map of this place you're exploring. And that's how I feel in Elden Ring. I feel like I am committing this area to memory. Like I'm like, oh, and then I know over that hill is where that little skirmish is breaking out, where these undead guys are fighting these soldiers. And then I know that's just a couple meters away from the starting castle, where there's this guy who I accidentally ticked off in my first save file, and he just murdered me every time I got close. So I actually restarted after about 45 minutes of playing.
Oh my God.
Because I was like, this is a mistake to tick this guy off, I feel. And I'm getting to know this area because it's that thing where I'm exploring this map like I'm actually there, and it's just so much fun to explore. And yeah, the combat is tough as nails, but something that seems different in this one compared to other Soulsborne games, and this is from other accounts since I don't have that much personal experience with this genre, is that if you run into a boss you can't beat, you can just leave and go and grind runes on these fights that are breaking out across the open world, or just set off in an entirely different direction and see what you find. And so I spent a lot of time exploring before I even went to the first boss. And by the time I got there, he only took me like 10 tries to beat, which I mean still sounds like a lot, but for these games I don't think it's that
They go
many.
pretty fast, yeah.
Yeah, so it's just so much fun to explore. I think it's gorgeous. The art design is just amazing. This castle is like just massive and glorious and so cool to look at. The enemy design is creepy but really really cool. And like Zach said, I feel like I'm just having these moments that is very Breath of the Wild-esque. It is very like, wow, I'm dropped into this world. I never know what I'm going to expect, and I just come over the hill and what do I see? And light spoilers for the first area, Zach already alluded to it. You see these people that are like stringing these other people up, like burning them at the stake, and they're just like standing in a circle around these people that they're just like torturing. And I'm like crouching in the distance, and I'm like, okay, how am I going to take out this group of people? And you just tiptoe up to it, and out of freaking nowhere, this massive dragon just drops down and kicks that entire group of people aside, and all of a sudden you're fighting just huge dragon. And I like audibly gasped when this happened. I'm like, I can't believe that just happened.
I audibly screamed.
Yeah, it is so cool. It is so organic, and it just does feel like a living world that I just exist in, not a place for me to just kind of check off boxes, which you guys know is the type of open world game I don't care for. So I'm super in love with it. I have not had as much time with it as I want. I think about just jumping back in all the time. And yeah, it's really, really cool. Just seeing all the Twitter talk about it was what inspired me to pick it up, because everything I saw people saying was like, man, that is the kind of open world game I like. That is to some extent what Ghost of Tsushima did, I've talked about, and what Breath of the Wild does. That is what I like. And it's delivering on that. It is just so cool. You never know what to expect. And I just really love having that journey where I feel like I'm actually exploring a place. It's awesome. It's so good.
All right. Looking forward to more talk on that for the next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Over the next
I'm a
year.
samurai. I picked a samurai class, which is pretty cool. So I got a katana. I heard it's the best starting weapon, so I wanted to start out with a decent weapon.
Yeah.
The horse can double jump, which is awesome.
Oh.
Like it's a super cool little like majestic double jump. And you can summon your horse from wherever, and it's a magic horse, so it just like materializes under you. So you just blow the horse whistle, and then you're on the horse instantly, which is super nice for travel. Yeah, so it's super cool. I like it even more than I thought I was going to, just diving into it.
Yeah, the concern sometimes with that is like you see people being like, oh yeah, this is the time to jump in, like this is the most like user friendly Souls game or whatever, and you're worried that's as user friendly as it goes for Souls players. But it's nice to see that the people who aren't as infatuated with the formula already can hop in and have a really good time with it.
Yeah, and I think what's cool is like you can just grind if you want. I mean, it's annoying to have to grind, but I did grind. I had this strategy. There's this crab who gave you like 400 runes, and in the early going you need like 800 to level up. And so and he's right across from a lost grace point, which the Souls formula is if you rest at one of these points, every enemy in the world respawns. So I would just rest at this point, ride over on my horse, slash away at this crab, do that a few times, and just like level up. And then I haven't really ran into any trouble so far. So yeah, there's other grinding strategies I've seen online too. So there's lots of ways to level up if you need to. But yeah, it is really fun to explore. I guess the only thing I would say is because you lose all of your runes when you die, that almost sometimes makes me feel like I don't want to explore. I'm like, oh, I don't want to go and die and lose all my stuff before I level up. So that is a hurdle to get over, but runes are easy enough to come by that I feel like you just have to accept death as part of the experience and know that you can recover the runes.
Yeah, you only lose the runes if you die twice. If you die once, you can go get them. If you die a second time before you recover them, then they're gone forever. So it's not entirely... Because this game expects you to die a lot.
Yeah.
Because it keeps throwing surprises at you that annihilate you. So it'd be pretty harsh if you lost every single one of your runes the first time you died.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, we'll definitely be talking about that more in the next couple of weeks. Get into some other new stuff, some demos that have dropped for games on the way.
Good, some bad.
Zach, I want to throw it to you first. The Strangers of Paradise demo dropped.
Oh,
and
boy.
from what it sounds like, it is very faithful to that trailer that we saw.
It's another
all that time
Soulsborne-like game.
Zach, what are your thoughts on the Strangers of Paradise
I'm
demo?
I'm going to start off with the good. I like the combat. I like it a lot. It's actually got a lot to it. This guy, the main guy, he starts off with a great sword, but I believe there's other types of weapons that you can just gradually get, and different types of builds you can get. But you start off with a great sword, and you have your standard attack, your standard dodge, your lock on. He's got these like power up moves, and enemies have shields, and health bars. But once you get their shield down, you can just one shot them with his cool, very, very cool, like crystal magic. I don't really know how to describe it because I don't really know how it works, but he just like turns enemies into crystals and explodes them. And every single like animation, because each enemy has a unique one-shot animation with this crystal attack, and they're all incredibly cool looking. I just think the combat looks really cool and feels pretty good. I didn't have a lot of time to go into the different variations of builds because it was a demo, but starting out with a great sword, I like great swords, so I enjoyed the combat. Man, what else was good?
Is that it?
Other than that, the game was...
Is performance good? Does it run fine?
It ran great, yeah.
Okay,
it
that's
ran
good.
really well on the PS5. The game was extraordinarily railroady. You just can't even jump, so there's really non-exploring options. You just run from one place to another, and there's a lot of level load in because different areas. The railroady didn't feel bad because I have open world fatigue from all the open world games I've been playing, so I actually enjoyed being on a very nice tight railroad, which sounds weird, but actually didn't mind
Sometimes
it so
you need
much.
that.
Exactly.
Sometimes games need that don't have it.
Seriously. So that wasn't a huge complaint on my part, but the opening cutscene I thought looked really good. It set up a really cool enemy who I think I already beat
Chaos?
in the demo. Chaos? No. And that was pretty much everything I liked about this demo. The characters suck so hard. They don't get introduced. You just start off. So these three characters, they all have rocks that glow, and they're like, okay, well, we got these rocks. And we want to kill Chaos. So let's team up and let's go do it.
Wow.
And then the king's like, no. And then you just go off and do other stuff. And then you find a fourth person who's like the main bad guy in the opening cutscene, and you kill them, and it turns into a girl who also has a rock and also wants to kill Chaos. And you're like, okay, I know nothing about any of you. And
except that they want to kill Chaos, you know.
And
that.
they have rocks.
They want to kill Chaos. Yes, and I told you guys this, but I think the main character is my least favorite main character in anything I've ever played.
That
which
is
saying a
so
lot.
brutal.
He is the most bland, pointless, uninteresting, basic-looking garbage character that just wants to kill Chaos. And his acting is horrible. His lines are pointless. Every time you finish a mission, there's just this throwaway cutscene where he goes to the inn. He talks to the innkeeper. The innkeeper's like, hey, you want to stay here tonight? He's like, and then the innkeeper's like, I was hoping you'd say that. Thanks. And then every
time.
mission, it just goes to that cutscene.
Why?
It's insane.
He's going to
So
the same
weird.
inn each time?
So
Is it
horrible.
the same
Yeah.
the same innkeeper?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Pacing is garbage. Like
After
oh
the
my
10th time,
God.
the guy's like,
Yes.
shouldn't even be like, I'm glad you said that. It's like, I know it. Just here's your room. I'll give you the key. Like,
For
jeez.
some unknown reason, the action button to like pick up items, open chests, talk to NPCs, it's hold the touchpad for like 2 seconds. The
That's
action
terrible.
button is
What?
the touchpad.
Ew.
Like I've never seen that before.
So I
Like
texted
the
you this.
interact
I'm like,
button, basically?
Yeah.
what is it on Xbox? There's no equivalent.
Oh
on
yeah,
Xbox.
it is on
So
Xbox,
weird.
right?
And I hate.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know what it would be because on PlayStation it's the touchpad, which feels
That-
really weird to do.
Yeah.
It's not like
I don't
press
think I've
the
ever
touchpad,
seen
it's
like
hold the touchpad.
yeah, any game have something that integral put onto the touchpad. Usually it's like in the early PlayStation games, it's all these like weird motion or PS4 was just like the throwaway like motion touching stuff.
Now it's a
But
giant
now
mouse
it's just
button.
yeah, which is fine. Like
What is an Elden Ring?
Yeah.
That is
and
weird.
then the loot in this game. At the end of, I didn't even finish the demo. I did 2 levels and I couldn't go any further because I didn't know if it was going to end anytime soon.
is it just the whole? Did they accidentally put the whole game in there?
I didn't check. I didn't care. And then the loot system. By the end of what I had played, I had like 30 chest pieces, 30 boots, 30 swords.
Whoa!
And
So
they
you
were
gotta
all,
like
the same level. I don't think any of them were better than the other ones.
Oh
I don't
my
know if I
God.
could have sold them or crafted. I don't know. I hated it. I just didn't have a good time with this demo, and I didn't see it getting any better anytime soon. So I just bowed out.
It's a shame because this is the same team. This Team Ninja who made Neo, and I've heard Neo 1 and 2 are great. So I wonder what happened
Not this
here.
game.
I mean, it
He said
sounds
the
like the
combat's
combat
good,
itself
so
is good. So that you know,
The combat is solid. Jack, the main character,
Oh boy.
is just hard to stand.
and that's only over 2 levels. You imagine playing the whole
2
game
levels
through that,
Yep.
going to the end every time.
I think the levels looked cool, and the enemy designs were great. Like they're standard Final Fantasy enemies, but like edgy looking, like realistic and edgy, like a
Chaotic.
Ninja or a Dark Souls.
Mm.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
They look
chaos.
very chaotic. The amount of times that people in this game said chaos, I wanted to throw up. We gotta kill chaos. Okay, kill chaos, and then they're like, chaos isn't real, and Jack's just like, I don't believe you. I've got to kill chaos.
It's gonna be like Kingdom
Oh
Hearts,
my
where it's
gosh.
like the thing is inside you or whatever. It's,
Darkness, yep.
chaos was inside you all along. You are chaos.
You are chaos.
Oh my god.
Whoa. That'd be awesome.
I will not be playing this game. So I will not find that out.
Interesting that they threw that demo out there for all the people to be like,
Bad idea.
"Yo, this
Yep.
this game ain't good. I don't want to play this."
Also, just terrible release timing. Like to have a game in similar genre to Elden Ring and 2 weeks after, that's kind of brutal.
Yep. Well,
Yeah.
I think it turned a lot of people off with its initial reveal, and I don't think they really did anything to impress people beyond that.
Yeah,
So
totally.
kind of on them, I think. All right, maybe a better demo for a game that is on its way out later this month. The Kirby demo is out now. Logan, you played it. I decided not to, but I did decide to put in my pre-order for it. I'm at the point where I'm just like, I'm going to pre-order it, and I'm going to play it all when I get it later this month. But you spent some time with the demo. What'd you think?
Yeah, let me just tell you, you made a great decision. This
Yeah?
game is awesome.
Okay.
This game is so great. It is exactly what it looks like. It's Kirby 3D World. Just totally, that's what it is. They have 2 difficulty modes. They have Spring Breeze mode, where its health bar is huge. And then they have Wild mode, where it's pretty small, actually. So it can be a little tougher if you pick Wild mode. Still probably going to be pretty easy, but that's not really what this game's about. But yeah, these really cool linear 3D levels with tons of collectibles. In the main level in the demo, there's 3 hidden Waddle Dees, but then there's also these little missions, and completing a mission nets you another hidden Waddle Dee. So an example is like in the demo, it's like, oh, uncover 5 red tulips. So you just have to keep your eyes peeled for 5 tulips throughout the level. And once you get all 5, you get another Waddle Dee. So there's just a lot to do in every level. Or if you're a younger player or just want to blast through, you could do that too, and it would be fun. I'm just amazed at how well the classic 2D Kirby formula translates to this type of game. Like, it feels as natural as 2D Mario did going to 3D Land and 3D World. It really feels like that. You've got the same enemy types. You've got the power-ups. I think the power-ups have fewer combos than they did in the 2D games, where they had a ton of different moves you could do. They feel a little simpler, but I think they kind of make up for that with the upgrade power-up system, which is
Right,
new.
yeah.
We saw in the trailer, so that could be neat. But yeah, just really great music, really creative level design, cute enemies, mouthful mode. Definitely feels like Cappy from Odyssey, capturing the different powers. The car is fun. The vending machine is in the demo. Spitting out the soda cans is just super fun. And then the boss fight is cool too. They have the flurry rush from Breath of the Wild, where if you do a perfect dodge, there's a slowdown, and then you can just go ham. Super cool. So yeah, it was a great demo. It was just a short intro level, a full level, and then a boss fight. And
Showing
for these
everything.
being the opening levels of the game, I'm like, man, where can it go from here? They show a really spoilery trailer at the end of the demo, which I did not watch because I want to be surprised.
Did you turn away, or were you able to skip through it?
I turned away
Okay.
because you actually get a code at the end of the demo that you can plug in to one of the Waddle Dee buildings in the town that I think will get you like some bonus items or stuff.
Oh, so I have
because
to
you
play
played
it now.
the demo. I think
it's the same
code is
for
the same for
everybody.
everyone.
Oh, okay.
So I
So
think you
just
could just look it up.
hit me up with the code.
Yeah. But it's super great. Like, I think this is probably going to be the best Kirby game ever. I think it'll be the best selling Kirby game ever. I mean, you're buying it. My sister who's never bought a Kirby game is buying it. Like, I know a lot of people who are jumping in on this one. I think it's going to be a big hit because what I played, it did have some of those 3D World Odyssey vibes where I was just like grinning the whole time I was playing it because it's just so charming and so fun. And it is simple, but like we were saying, sometimes you need that. And it's just a blast. I can't wait for the full thing to come out in 2 weeks.
Yeah, I'm getting very excited for it. Want to try out the mouthful mode. Looks like a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Hopping to all the different things and having all the different power-ups. Yeah.
Yeah. And after you beat the demo, you can play it again with the powered up power-ups. So you can go back through and see what's
Okay.
different with them, which is,
okay.
it was fun.
That's
Yeah.
nice. Nice.
Zach played it too.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I actually enjoyed it, unlike other demos.
Unlike the other one.
I wanted to hop in to see if it would do anything for me, and it kind of did. Like, I'm very much teetering on the edge of if I'm going to play this game or not. I watched the spoilery cutscene, and it made me want to purchase the game more.
Okay.
Yeah.
It did its job, but see where I'm at in terms of maybe I'm going to be in between games. I mean, Ghostwire, Tokyo comes out around that time too. So
Same
we'll
day.
see.
Yeah.
Same day.
I got Rune Factory like 2 days before that, or 2 or 3
Yeah.
days before that. Ugh.
Yeah,
so many
Kirby's
games.
Great. I can't wait. It's great. It's so good. I'm already thinking like our top 10 Switch list we made a week ago could change. Like, I had that much fun with the demo, and if that charm is in the whole game, it's going to be something special, I think.
Awesome.
I think
I'm
you'll
looking
love
forward
it,
to
Kevin.
Yeah,
I think you'll
it
really,
looks really
like
cool.
it.
That last trailer that they showed off sealed it for me. The initial trailer was like, oh, that looks really cool. Like, I'll have to keep my eye on that. And then
The mouthful mode trailer?
The mouthful mode trailer was just like,
Yeah.
all right. It looks like they're actually doing some really cool stuff with this beyond just being like, all right, let's make it more 3D. Like,
Yeah,
let's
traffic
actually add
cone.
some really interesting new mechanics. So I'm excited to
Traffic
try all
cone was
that
my
out.
favorite. Didn't expect that.
All right. So that's it for very new stuff. Before we get into some of what we've been playing and some of the stuff that we missed last week, you guys have a major announcement to make about a major achievement that has been a long time in the making.
Zach, you can have the honors.
We got the Fall Guys Infallible and Platinum Trophy.
Woohoo! Finally.
How long has it
Year
been?
and a half?
A year
Year and a half.
Year and a
Man.
half. of
239
Platinum.
hours.
Woo!
Roughly that for me as well. A little bit less, but holy crap. There's a new mode called Sweet Thieves. We played 5 times in a row to get this trophy. It's a new mode for season 6 where you either play as thieves stealing candy or guardians protecting candy. And it's pretty
one round only,
weighted.
right?
Yeah, it's
So
one round. So it
If
goes
you
pretty
win the
fast.
round, you win a show. So it's 3 minutes per win. Very snappy. So it seemed like a slam dunk for the trophy. We sat down and we won 2 in a row, lost, won 2 in a row, lost, and then we won 5 in a row. And it was awesome. It was amazing. The trophy popped. Super satisfying. Seeing a lot of people online are using this mode to get the trophy. But dude, who cares at this point? Like, we have worked so much for it. It felt so
Well, for the most part,
gratifying
like
to finally get it.
we were talking about this a while back. As the longer that the game was out, the harder it was going to be to get the trophy, because one, you add in more games, so that means you have to be better at more games, and two, the longer the game is out, the more casual people drop off, and more like the seasoned veterans who know what they're doing are left. So it just gets harder and harder to get it that original way. So if they're going to add another way to get it, like, hey, by all means, because it was only getting harder with the other ways you could do it.
Yeah, totally. But it feels good. But now there's fewer goals in the game, so not as much to draw us back in.
Just the seasons, huh?
Soon, yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
Mm-hmm. The Sweet Thieves is fun. It's a fun mode. It's like cops and robbers basically, and cool map. It being invisible is fun, and trying to sneak around these guardians who can't see you at all. There's a new mechanic, the walking mechanic. You hold down L1 and your being walks at the slowest pace they've ever gone, and you're totally invisible when you're walking, and then you're more visible the faster you move. So it's a cool creative mode, and we won pretty equally as guardians and as thieves, so seemed pretty well balanced. Yeah, it's cool.
Biggest part about it was that the prize is Astrobot costume.
Yeah.
So now we get to be Astrobot, who we love.
Yep.
Awesome. All right, do we want to quickly run through some of the stuff that we've been playing over the last 2 weeks? We've been going on.
I don't know. I don't know if we could do it quickly. I beat like 4 other games
Zach,
other than the stuff we've already talked about.
You're a madman.
Sorry.
You're a madman.
Yeah, how are we doing? Are we ripping through?
Let's do it. We can't save it for a third week. Can't do that.
Logan,
Zach,
you rip through
some
of the
Logan?
stuff we beat together.
Okay.
We'll share some of it.
We finished Majora's Mask like a couple weeks ago.
All right.
Yeah, it was still my least favorite Zelda. Not much changed, but we did get the Fierce Deity Mask, so all the side quests, and that was fun. The final boss is an absolute joke. Like, you rip through them in like a minute and a half when you have the Fierce Deity Mask, which is super funny. But yeah, it's a shame. I wanted to like it more than I did, like I always do. But the year of Zelda continues. I've also been playing Twilight Princess, and I'm almost done with that, so that'll already bring me up to 3. So I'm ripping through pretty good.
One of the things you brought up that I agree with is that Majora's Mask is a game that's a lot more fun to think about than it actually is to play. Like, it's got a lot of cool concepts, pretty cool aesthetic, some cool ideas, but it just doesn't get over the hurdles of the actual gameplay and dungeons and some of the rougher edges of the game that were less fun to go through.
Which is why I think it sits so fondly with Zelda fans who say it's their favorite. I'm like, when was the last time you actually played it? When was the last time you like kind of took off the nostalgia glasses and played it and were like, oh, the actual moment-to-moment stuff is the weakest in this game? But it is cool. It's an ambitious game for its time, certainly. I appreciate the heck out of it for that. But not much changed on it. So that was Majora's Mask.
All
and
right.
then only other thing for me is I'm playing Pokemon Legends, which
another
is
open
kind of
world. Well, I guess open area, but
it's way closer to Monster Hunter than open world.
Okay.
Like, it really is Pokemon meets Monster Hunter. I think I want to save impressions still on this one for next week. I think it's a bigger thing we should get into. I'm still kind of in the opening hours. It's a really long tutorial, which is
Pokemon.
I'm a little sick of them talking to me so much, but it's cool. I think it's probably the best Pokemon has been in a decade for me, but I'm excited to keep playing it and talk about it next week. Oh,
Yeah.
Really low bar. But yeah, that's it for me. We got a lot to get to, so we'll save Pokemon for next week.
All right, Zach.
Okay.
You got a couple of games on here.
Yes, I'm sorry. Okay, I beat a lot of games. I've had a lot of free time.
I'm excited to see that you beat Lost Judgment, though. Just in time for the DLC. We're going to get into that in a little bit, but DLC is on the way soon.
I completely forgot. So this is really good timing because the DLC is coming out, but this is the one I beat more recently. Lost Judgment, I put an hour into it right before I got my PS5. Got way distracted by other stuff, put it down for a while. And now that I had finished some other stuff, I decided to pick it back up. Got pretty hooked by it, which I do with most Yakuza.
That's how it goes.
Of the series. Yes, I'm just get really into it. In terms of ranking it in the series, I wouldn't put it crazy high. The main story I thought had some issues. It was very anticlimactic near the end of the game. Most of the Yakuza games really ramp up to a very climactic final fight. I thought the final fight in this one was pretty meh. I thought the combat felt easier in this game than it usually does. I don't know if that was just me or if I got used to the turn style combat. of Yakuza 7? I don't know. But it felt like I was just breezing through this game, and it didn't have really any memorable boss fights at all.
Yeah, I guess the only I remember the final boss fight just because it is the final boss fight. It doesn't go up to the heights of some of the other games, but I do remember one of the fights where you've got one boss and then like a bunch of his minions all in this like underground room. I remember that. That was interesting.
Yep. It's a gauntlet to get to the final boss, but that's typical of the Yakuza style games.
Yakuza 2?
Yep.
Good lord.
Except I didn't love the final area. My favorite part about Lost Judgment was the school setting and a lot of the school side stuff. I thought it was super cool doing the side story. Not to get into spoilers, but yeah, you have reasons to go to these different clubs throughout the school that you're at, and you just like go through, like you're in charge of these clubs and you go through their storylines, and I thought that was super cool compared to the main story, which I didn't get super attached to overall. And then you get a skateboard, which I think this is a first, so you can skateboard around Kamurocho and Ijincho, which I think is a lot of fun. Collecting like skateboard points that I don't know what you're supposed to use.
Oh, have you not done the skateboard side stuff?
I think that's pretty much no side. I don't think I did the
maybe it's a separate thing. But yes, you can spend them. There's like a whole skateboarding side thing. I think it's tied to the school in some way.
Gotcha.
But yeah, you can spend all of the tokens there, and you get significantly more tokens from doing those missions than you ever would like traveling around.
But I didn't think. Having completed a lot of the side stuff, at the end I was kind of just going through the main story, so I might go back and do more stuff.
I need to do more
if I feel so inclined. Yeah. But that was Lost Judgment. Glad I finally got that over, and now looking forward to whatever's next in the series.
The DLC.
I guess that'd be the DLC. Yep.
And then after that, we don't know. Yeah.
Which is weird because they pump these games out.
I would assume we'd hear something pretty soon about what's coming next. And it sounds like they have multiple things in the works. So yeah, we'll see. You got one other thing here?
Ghost Trick.
Ghost Trick, yeah.
Other than that, this is something I beat like 2 weeks ago, right after the show 2 weeks ago. Yeah. And then we didn't talk about what we played last week. But I plowed through Ghost Trick Phantom Detective because I needed to give it to Logan the next time I saw him because it was a birthday present. So I sat down. It was about roughly 9 hours to beat it. Beat it in a few sittings. This is one of those old DS games that was written and designed by Shu Takumi, the creator of Ace Attorney, the original Ace Attorneys, who we all love very much. And I heard that this game was like a lesser known favorite of a lot of Ace Attorney fans, that they really love this game, and I can definitely see why, because this game was incredible. It's not divided into different mysteries. It's one big overarching mystery that you go around solving using your Ghost Trick Phantom Detective powers, where you're a ghost and you go around controlling different items to solve puzzles, and you rewind time to solve murders and stop murders, and it's really cool. And the best part about the game are the character designs and the character animations that are so unique and like out there. Like you see the world on a 2D plane, and you can just see like characters doing the weirdest things. Like there's a dude who's sitting at a desk who's just like doing his normal job, but under the desk you can see that he's not wearing shoes and he's just like scratching his leg with his foot. It's just like the weirdest thing that doesn't really matter. Yeah, but the game was a lot, and I now have a front runner for favorite video game character of all time from this game.
So you've got favorite and least favorite in this show,
which is weird.
That is great.
I think Jack might be my least favorite video game character of all time.
Wow.
And I won't say who the character is, but I think that Logan will know when he plays it, because holy crap, I love this character. He's the best. And yeah, and the mystery, I did not see the ending coming at all, which is pretty
sweet.
Unique. Yeah, so loved it a lot. Definitely recommend it if you could.
If you $200 now?
Now it's like roughly $175.
Jesus, prices be insane. All right,
Kevin, how about you?
As for me, I beat Wario World a while back. Fun game. It's super bizarre, but they do some really cool things with some of the later levels. Some of them get kind of brutal. Wario can be a little bit slippery sometimes, and some of like the last sections, some of the last like platforming sections in the vein of Sunshine, they get brutal. Like they go from just like, oh, you got to get through this little obstacle course to like, here is this long maze, and if you fall off, you got to do it all over again. But I'm very glad that they did not remove lives from that, or else that would have sucked. But yeah, I think it does some really interesting things with the coin mechanic of how if you lose all of your health, you can spend coins to keep going on in the level. If you fall off a section, you go into this underground area and there's these ghosts that chase you around. And basically you have to like keep on breaking these boxes to find the spring to bring you back up to the top. But if you fall into the water that's in there or the ghosts get you, you lose more coins. So it's an interesting mechanic that I've never really seen before. And to be honest, the first time it happened, I was really confused. I was like, what am I doing down here? Like, what am I supposed to do? But I thought that was really interesting. And yeah, some interesting level designs at the end. Some of the levels can overstay their welcome a little bit, especially if you're going for 100%, since you have to like redo the level if you missed it. And if you missed it again, then you have to go all the way back to the start again. There's no way to like really pick it up at a certain location to be able to get an item that you need. But yeah, I enjoyed it a lot, and I wish that it was more accessible for people, because for, like a 10 to 20 bucks, just like, oh, let's have some fun, I'd highly recommend it. But at GameCube prices now, no way. You should emulate it instead. But I definitely recommend trying it out if you like 3D platformers at all, because it's a good time. Yeah.
Cool.
And then Captain Toad, I'm almost done. I've got like 3 or 4 more levels in the special area, and then it's just like the final gauntlet that I don't know if I'm gonna do because it looks pretty brutal. But yeah,
it's really brutal.
I enjoy it a lot, and I also enjoy how it mixes things up at the end. The Super Mario Odyssey levels that they added in are so good. Cool. I love them, and I really wish there were more of them, because for a second I thought that book was going to be them, but it was only like the first section of the book. I'm like, oh, that's it. But I also liked some of the things they did when you finish the main story, and like going back in and doing some of the levels, the way they switched things up with different gameplay gimmicks actually was fun, and I didn't mind going back to some of these areas again with how they changed things up. But yeah, it's a good time. I like it a lot, and basically done with it. But that's about it. Beyond more Stardew, of course. I'm kind of like trying to not pick up anything big, because Kirby comes out and Rune Factory comes out at the same time, so I'm already going to be juggling 2 big games there, so I don't really want to be juggling a third big game when those come out, but we'll see. Whew, all right, news. Let's get into it. Logan, what do we got?
Yeah, so we're going to rip through this. We got an Uncharted spoiler cast to get to.
Yeah.
So we'll go through the news kind of quick this week. But State of Play happened, and let's be honest, there's not much to say here. I think that, once again, the fact that the State of Play is not leading our show kind of tells you that there wasn't any huge news. But I'll just rip through some of the announcements here. Exoprimal from Capcom. It is not Dino Crisis, but it is about slaughtering hundreds of dinosaurs. Online gameplay. Looked interesting. Ghostwire Tokyo got a launch trailer. The demo was announced for Stranger of Paradise that we've already heard too much about. There was new gameplay for Forspoken, which was also just delayed from May 25th to October 11th. So a big delay, but a trailer there. There's a Gundam first-person shooter, a TMNT collection, which looked pretty cool. Shredder's Revenge is also coming out. So lots of games coming for Turtle fans. There's a Kaiju Brawler, which we've seen before, got a new look. A JoJo's fighting game, Bizarre Adventure, with 50 characters from the anime. And then Returnal, probably the biggest announcement, getting a free update with campaign co-op and a new tower mode where you just scale floors of a never-ending tower to try and set some high scores. Then Square Enix announced a couple of new games, a strategy RPG called the Diafield Chronicle, and then Valkyrie Elysium, which is a sequel to the Valkyrie Profile series, which hasn't been around for a long time, except for like a mobile game I saw. So that was it. That was the State of Play. No Final Fantasy 16. No big first-party updates besides Returnal. But I think we're getting to that point where they have these PlayStation showcases separate from these State of Plays, where they save all their big stuff for, and they don't even give a crumb of that to their state of play sprinkled throughout the year, which Kev, I think is not a great strategy. I think you could sacrifice one of those big announcements and updates for an event like this just to make it more interesting and feel more impactful.
Well, this state of play just felt like one of the partner showcases that Nintendo did a while back. And as we know, those were not very good. And there's a reason we haven't seen one of those in a while. They tried it out, and I don't think that it worked very well. I think it's a much better design to have a bunch of stuff interspersed into one. You've got a bunch of your first-party stuff, and you have a bunch of your third-party stuff in there as well. It felt incredibly underwhelming. And I know that there's some stuff in there that, TMNT fans, they got a lot in there. Some of the Square Enix stuff, for people who've been waiting for some series to come back, that's cool. But man, there really wasn't a whole lot. The opening of the dinosaur game, that kind of felt like kind of a limp starter.
It was a fake out.
Well, was it the kaiju fighting game? I swear there was one trailer that lasted for like 4 seconds and then was gone.
It was that.
Yeah, I was
instant.
honestly confused. I was like, what was that? Why was that even here? Like,
it was like part of an indie reel with no other indies.
with a single game. It's part of a sizzle reel of one game.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was weirdly paced. There wasn't any massive game or even like a big game to like look at. This is a state of play that I forgot within a half an hour of watching it, like completely what was in it. And I didn't even have very high expectations for it. It was like, oh, some Japanese studio stuff, and it's like, all right, maybe we'll see some stuff there, but man, there wasn't a whole lot.
Yeah, I think that it's like, and I don't want to like sound like we're coming down hard on the games that were there, because that's not my problem. My problem is that Sony needs to support these announcements with their own stuff. And Nintendo Direct works so well because there's the smaller things and then a big thing. When the smaller things have to hold up the entire product, they don't feel as big as they could, where if it's like, oh, that's a really cool surprise that I'm excited about, in addition to the huge news that dropped today. But when that's the only news, I almost feel like the public reception of those games is more negative than it should be. Because these are some cool games. But it just didn't feel like they alone warranted this big, hyped up video presentation, I guess.
Yeah, it just didn't feel necessary. Just push it back if you have some more announcements that you want to do a little bit later, and have a more filled out show. Like, that was 20 minutes of just not a whole lot, and not a whole lot to remember things by. Like, some of the great things about directs is that you can have that big thing, you're like, oh, there was that, and then that may lead you down like, oh yeah, what else was in that? And then maybe you'll remember some of the other smaller stuff. If there was not that big thing at all that you cared about, it's probably just, I don't remember what was in that at all. Like, that just came.
Here's a perfect example. Live Alive is an outstanding example of that. It was surrounded by things like Xenoblade Chronicles 3 and Mario Strikers coming back and some other Nintendo updates. And we're like, wow, that looks so cool. We're super hyped for that. That was like bigger than anything that was in the Sony showcase. And it was like a cool bonus for us in that other one. So yeah, I just think these state of plays need to be reworked or honestly thrown out and just save this stuff for the showcase, because they're not good. I don't think that they reflect the PlayStation brand in a very good light. I think that they honestly might be hurting. And it's like, you look at that and you're like, this is the state of play. This is what PlayStation has coming this year. I'm like, wow, the state of play is not in a very good state, is how it makes me feel.
Yeah, I just think back to the Nintendo Directs where it's just like, even the ones that aren't like amazing, you've got those, those relatively big announcements, and then for some of the great ones, it's like bam, 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 announcement after announcement. And this one is just, there's just not a whole lot going on there. And I also felt like, I know that you have to remind people that Ghostwire Tokyo is coming up, but you just had a big reveal for it. So it's like, why was it here? Why was it taking up time? Give some more time to the kaiju game that got shown off for 2 seconds. But give that some time. Yeah. It just felt like, I don't know why you're giving Ghostwire this much time when we just saw a deep dive into it not that long ago. It was like, what, like last month?
Mm-hmm. It was in February.
A couple weeks ago.
Yeah. Not great.
Yeah. So that's the state of play. We got some release dates and some delays this week. We'll just go through these in a list. A Lost Judgment Kaito Files DLC is coming on March 28th.
Hype.
So that's very soon. F-Zero X, which I think I recently decided is my favorite one in the series. That's the N64 one. That is coming to NSO Expansion Pass on March 11th. And I'm not going to lie, online play is enticing. Online play for F-Zero sounds like a lot of fun. So I'm considering it because I feel like I talked about that. Like an F-Zero with online sounds awesome. I want to contribute to the stats of people playing F-Zero to show Nintendo people care. So I'm
You want to give
considering
Nintendo some of that expansion pass monies? You can get some of the DLC.
Yeah, I could avoid paying for the Mario Kart DLC if I just
You could do that.
We'll see. But yeah, try F-Zero X. It's a phenomenal racing game. It's my favorite one in the series, and yeah, it's really great. And then Gotham Knights, which Zach and I are playing together, is coming on October 25th, which tells me Suicide Squad's not coming this year. I just don't think that Suicide Squad would make it out when this game, which seemed further along, isn't coming until the fall.
I feel the same way. It's fine. I mean, there's a lot going on this year.
Yeah,
and
totally.
At least we're getting Gotham Knights, which I think I'm a little more excited about than
me too.
Suicide Squad game. Yeah.
And then Super Nintendo World opening in Hollywood in 2023 next year. Been like waiting to go to Japan to see this thing, and now it's just going to be.
I still haven't been, and I've been here the whole time.
Yeah, that's exciting though.
Yeah,
I thought that they were going to do Florida first, so I'm excited to see that it's going to be at the Hollywood one because I'm just personally way closer to that.
Yeah.
So yeah, the biggest Donkey Kong park that we know of coming soon to
Japan.
To Japan. Yeah. And then kind of a more serious story. Nintendo chose to delay Advance Wars 1 and 2 Reboot Camp indefinitely, and this is due to the situation between Russia and Ukraine. Of course, it's been all over the news that Russia is invading Ukraine. It's a terrible situation, and this is obviously it's the right move. It's an understandable move for Nintendo to delay a game about modern war, which is not something that they publish often, and something that I've seen. The first game opens with a army that resembles the Russian army invading a country. So it's just not the right time for this product right now. And I think it's great that Nintendo had the sight to see that and cancel something that's only 3 weeks away. So props to them for doing that. And yeah, the events over there are just terrible. It's been really tough to follow and to watch. So yeah, it's the right move.
Yeah,
right move by
so.
Nintendo here.
Yeah. Good move there.
I think that this could be the end for this series. I really do think that. I think that Nintendo's hesitant already to have anything to do with anything resembling real warfare. That's why things like Fire Emblem have endured, but Advance Wars hasn't. Something floating around on Twitter today was that the original Advance Wars came out on September 10th, 2001, which I didn't know. And that's just unbelievable. And that after the September 11th attacks, they delayed the release of the game in other territories, and it actually didn't even come out in Japan until the sequel came out, and they released 1 and 2 together over in Japan. And then this remake's not even coming out in Japan. This is an American and European product only that I think they just wanted to try. But after this, just really horrible timing, obviously, for this series. So I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see it again for a long time. But yeah,
people like it. Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah,
how well it does whenever it does come out.
I'm curious to see when it does eventually make it out.
Because situation is fluid. You don't know how things are gonna go, and could be a while.
Yeah, but obviously much bigger things going on than a game release to follow right now. If you don't often look at real news and you just follow entertainment news, gaming news, go check out what's happening over there, because it's a big world event that you should follow. And there's lots of ways out there to help Ukrainians. I see a lot of outlets, a lot of charities pushing people towards donating to Ukrainian people. So check that out if you're able, because it's definitely a rough situation that's just really sad to follow.
Yeah.
But yeah, that other than that, we got one more story here. Shifting gears. Impossible to shift gears after that.
Yeah.
But we will to Halo Infinite. Halo Infinite campaign co-op and Forge delayed again. So these things were supposed to come out in May with the launch of season 2, but now they're still planned for season 2. Co-op is. Forge is on track for season 3, which is going to start in like September or October. And the season is called Lone Wolves, which people very quickly were making fun of for the lack of campaign co-op. And dude, Halo Infinite is great. I gushed about the game last year, but the post-launch support has been bad. It has been rough. There's been nothing. No new maps in season 1. There was a good new mode rollout where they added some things people were missing. But I'm worried about the future of this game. It seems not dead, but clinging on to life at this point after just 4 months on the market. So, yeah, I'm worried about its health, Kev.
Yeah, and that's what happens with these live service games is you have to keep the player's attention because there are so many other both single player games and multiplayer games and other big live service games that are vying for people's attention. So you kind of have to match some of those other games in terms of output. They are planning for a 10-year life cycle for this game. See if it can make it past 1 year. The other interesting thing to think about is just thinking about what would have happened if this game launched when it was originally intended.
Yeah.
It boggles my mind.
In 2020, in fall of 2020, a year before it actually came out.
Like, what would this game have looked like? Because you already had this launch where you had the campaign there and you had the multiplayer there, but core features were not there and are still not there and are continuing to be delayed. Man, what sort of state would this game have been in on that launch? Like, I'm glad that they pushed it so that they could actually get a solid campaign and initial multiplayer out. But man, at this point, it kind of seems like they just had to shove it out, and that was it. It's like, all right, it's out, and it's like, oh god, now we got to work on all this other stuff we didn't have time for because we just needed to get the actual product out. And the planning on making these other seasons, because you have to plan that pretty far in advance and have a lot of stuff in the pipeline to have a consistent release schedule. It just seems like that wasn't really there.
Yeah, it's frustrating the campaign co-op thing. Because they were like, we learned our lesson after Halo 5. We're going to include co-op in this one. And it's just still not here. And Zach and I buckled and just played it. I had a work opportunity. That's what led me to play it. And Zach played it after the push from February to May. Man, if you were holding out still to play with someone, say you played like the entire series with, what are you feeling right now? Like, are you diving in and playing it? Have you lost all interest? I've seen a lot of people in the Halo community being just super frustrated and like seeing the series they love that is struggling to kind of adopt the Fortnite live service format. It's tough. I dropped the game too. Zach and I used to play like every day, every other day. We don't play at all anymore. We like that lasted for like 2 weeks. And then after the new year hit, I just dropped it. I came back from visiting family over winter break and didn't pick up the game again. Zach and I did once, and it's just gods that are left that are not fun to play with.
Oh,
and it's just
destroyed us.
Yeah. There are points on the Steam data chart where the game's approaching the same number of players as the Master Chief Collection. And it should not be like that. Just bring over those maps, for God's sakes. Like, I don't think people would care if you just ported over Master Chief Collection maps just to freshen up the content a little bit. Like, they've got to do something to rejuvenate this game, and it can be done. I mean, there's success stories all the time of multiplayer games turning it around, and I certainly believe Halo Infinite could be one of them. Heck, the Master Chief Collection was one of them. That game had an atrocious launch and turned into something pretty good. So I think that could happen again, but it seems like it could be a long road.
Yeah, and the road keeps getting pushed back.
10 years. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But yeah, we're gonna stop news there. No rumor roundup because we're running long. We're
gonna have a lot of rumors coming up here soon. I think we had to, kick them the last couple weeks.
Some hot stale rumors.
Speaking of things that we've had to push off a little bit, let's talk about the Uncharted movie. We finally made it. So over the last couple of weeks, we had my impressions when it first came out, and then you guys gave some quick impressions last week. This week will be entirely spoiler-filled with plot and everything. So if you haven't seen the movie yet and are planning to and care at all about spoilers, turn this off now, go watch the movie, and then you can come back and listen to this. So first, I think let's talk about the biggest elephant in the room is the casting choice. Specifically for, you've got Tom Holland and Mark Wahlberg as the two main characters in Nathan Drake and Sully, along with the other casting choices. What are your thoughts seeing the movie now on that choice of those two leading and any of the other cast members? Zach, I'll throw it to you first.
Yeah, I think that the casting was clearly Hollywood stars as opposed to people who'd actually fit the role. I think that they did okay jobs at acting. I don't think they did really any good job at all playing the characters. Tom Holland clearly just felt like Spider-Man.
Yeah, it was basically Tom Holland as Spider-Man.
Did not like Mark Wahlberg as Sully, like, at all. I thought he was fine for just what he was going for, but it just didn't ever click as Sully for me. So I think that they're the two main castings, very, very off. Liked the girl who played Chloe. She had a weird accent, but I think she did a fine job.
She felt like Chloe.
Yeah, I bet so too.
When the other characters don't really feel like their characters very much.
And then Antonio Banderas really felt like an Uncharted villain up until the end of the movie.
Not even the end of the movie, partway through.
Just like, 2/3 of the way through the movie when they just got rid of him.
When they slit his throat and zero blood came out.
That choice made the movie fundamentally worse.
Yeah.
Logan, what casting choices?
Dude, I tried throughout the movie to get on board with Tom Holland and Mark Wahlberg as Nate and Sully. I just couldn't do it. It just felt like I was watching an action movie with those two actors just like playing them like basically the characters they always play. Like, it just felt like I'm watching Tom Holland and Mark Wahlberg. It never felt like watching Nate and Sully. It just did not feel that way. And yeah, it's weird how much he just felt like Spider-Man. And like a really key example of that is the big set piece scene from Uncharted 3, the cargo plane scene when he's leaping up the cargo crates, and there's a guy he accidentally like murders. He sends him to his death, right? And as he's flying away, Nate in the movie shouts, "Oh, I'm so sorry." Nate in the games is like, he's kind of an ass. Like, he's just taking dudes out, and he doesn't care. And in this, it was like very Spider-Man. Oh, I accidentally killed you. Oh, I'm so sorry. And it's like, no, that's just not the Nate character. And I know it's young Nate, so I know he isn't that fully hardened adventurer yet. But it's still like, I guess I didn't see the progression of like him turning into the Nate from the game. So his characterization really, really bothered me. I was not a fan. And he never really grew on me. Even in the post-credit scene, which was the intro to Uncharted 1, it still didn't feel like them. So I was really not a fan of the casting.
Yeah, I think Tom Holland was worse for me than Mark Wahlberg. I didn't think that Mark Wahlberg was Sully, but I don't know. Something about the way that he carried himself in some way, I was like, all right, I can kind of see it there. I think part of that has to do with Spider-Man just coming out. And so it is fresh in your mind of like, this is Spider-Man. This is the Tom Holland character of Spider-Man. Mm-hmm. And like, even when they try and like have him put on the gear and like have these moments where it's like, oh, now he's like becoming Nathan Drake. It's like, no, it's Tom Holland, and he put on a Nathan Drake cosplay. I did that at a convention a couple of years ago. And
you cut a line.
Yeah, I did. I don't know if Tom Holland did that.
Probably.
And it's always it's just frustrating seeing that fan movie and seeing Nathan Fillion and being like, that is him. That is Nathan Drake to a T. Not just how he looks, even though it looks like Nathan Drake, but like in his mannerisms and how he carries himself, that's Nathan Drake. But they have to get the money, and it's that whole thing of like, yeah, this movie is done very well, but I do, wonder to an extent, Tom Holland is a very bankable actor right now. Like, how well would the movie have done with the people that don't care about Uncharted, who see it, and it's not Tom Holland, it's Nathan Fillion or somebody else? I don't think it would do as well.
People like Nathan Fillion too. It's not like he's a name.
Yeah,
And
but I
people
think
like him.
but Tom Holland brings in just a much wider group of people. He is with Spider-Man, he is just uber popular. That movie did so well. So on the box office side, I'm like, all right, I get it, but it just didn't feel like that, and that it kind of dragged throughout the rest of the movie. It's just like these aren't the characters. Yeah, that was very disappointing. We touched on the story for a second there. Antonio Banderas is the villain. Like, on the one hand, I was a little bit surprised when they killed him off, but on the other end, it didn't do anything to help the story out. I think it made the main villain by the end was not. I barely remember her at all. It's not like Antonio Banderas is a great villain, but
no.
But I think his henchman who took over was no better.
This is what bothered me. I didn't like a lot of the story because why didn't they just do Uncharted 4? Like, what? This was so close to Uncharted 4, but it was a different treasure. It was a slightly different treasure. It was still in pirate ships in a hidden cave, but it wasn't the story of Avery and Libertalia, but it was basically that. And then you had the same dynamic between the two main villains. This rich guy who feels entitled to the treasure for some familial reason. That's Rafe. It's literally Rafe. And then this tough female mercenary that he hires and all of her goons to get the treasure for him. That's Nadine. It was literally Rafe and Nadine, but they changed their names. And I'm just like, why didn't you just commit to Uncharted 4? You even had all the Sam stuff and the brother stuff in here.
Yeah, the brother stuff felt weird too.
Yeah,
because
it's like if
he wasn't in the movie, like at all.
He's in the post-credit scene.
Like they allude to him a lot, and that's like a driving force of certain things, for better or for worse. Yeah. But like, he's not in the movie. That was the opening.
It's nice that I didn't know that he was gonna be in the movie going into it, because like right before the movie started, Logan leans over to me and he's like, "Is Sam in this movie?" I'm like, "No." And then the movie opens. It's like Nathan and Sam. I'm like,
there he is.
Also, let me just say, I thought that young Nate and young Sam looked like young Nate and young Sam from the game. I thought that those great casting.
That was the best casting in the movie.
And then young Nate morphs from young Nate to Tom Holland. I'm like, no,
it's crazy.
No.
Yeah. This story clearly leans the most heavily on Uncharted 4, with some hints of Uncharted 3 in there, but they really shake up the origin story to make it a lot more digestible for a new audience, where Sam just rips through it in the beginning of the game, gives him the ring, and then just like leaves Nate at the orphanage, as opposed to... We're spoiling the movie. We're probably not spoiling the games, are we?
Yeah, we're spoiling the games.
All right. People already know.
I already did.
In the games, yeah.
Hopefully you played that collection.
Sam and Nate leave the orphanage together, grow up, and then, go in and out of jail, eventually meet Sully, and then, move on with the rest of the story. But in this, he just leaves, and Nate doesn't see him for 12 years, finds out he's dead, quote unquote, and then uses the postcards he's been getting for the last... This is another thing that didn't make sense to me, because Sam was in the church where the clues led. So did he solve it and find the treasure, or did he get stuck somewhere and arrested? Because he had the postcards from the church that they had to follow the clues to get to.
I guess that's where the thing ended for him, where he was killed. Obviously he wasn't, but I guess that's where his journey ended at that point, I guess.
Yeah. Sam and Sully were working on getting this treasure together. Wouldn't have Sully known about the church where he found the postcard?
It's a good question.
Well, I guess really confusing. What the question was Sully, was he going to get betrayed? So maybe Sam was, trying to play dumb at a certain point.
There's a lot of betrayal.
No one in this game trusted anyone.
Exactly. So maybe you assumed that Sam was trying to was assuming that he was going to get backstabbed. But
yeah,
I know we're jumping around a lot, but like Nate gives Chloe the wrong coordinates at the end, and you're like, oh, she's going to swoop in and help them in the final fight. Nope. She's just not in the last act of the movie. She's just not there.
He got rid of her.
So speaking
That's
on
so
that last
weird.
part, I want to talk about the beginning as well. But since we're at that point in the movie, before we jump back, I have a question about. So Nate finds out that the main villain is going to like the wrong location, and it's like, oh, I've got to look at these postcards or whatever and figure out where this location is. At what point was he driving the boat right next to them so that they could see where he was going? I thought they were on different sides of the island. He's like, oh wait,
Well, he had to go right
it's
past him so they could
it's
see
not
him
it's not
and follow
here.
him.
It's over there. But no, wait, I'm gonna drive my boat.
He's gonna go
which
all the way
also
around.
which also brings up the other question of how long was he driving that boat with them following him, but to still be able to get in and have enough time. I don't know. That was
Nate was an idiot.
that
in
was
this
my
movie
biggest
so many
biggest question.
times.
Was like, how did that happen?
Yeah, Nate was not smart, and it happened so many times to like just push the plot forward. Also, the biggest plot hole in the movie is Chloe lifting the cross from Nate's backpack, literally without touching him. Did not hug him.
Funniest thing.
Literally zero physical contact
What are
was
you doing?
made.
Check your backpack. So he goes digging to the bottom of his backpack where assumably the cross was, and it's not there. So
Yeah.
at some point she reached her hand into his backpack, shuffled around to the bottom, grabbed it without him noticing.
Incredible.
Yeah,
Which makes
unbelievable. Yeah.
Going back to the beginning of the movie though, I thought that the movie was already about 2 hours long, so I'm glad that they didn't stretch things out any longer than they had to. But still, at the same time, I felt that beginning of them getting together was really rushed. Especially for, like, I went and saw this with my girlfriend, and she has no attachment or whatever to Uncharted, and she doesn't know these characters. And she was sitting there like, why did he go back? Like, what happened there? Like,
twice,
it was
where she
so
decides
quick
to
where it was
leave.
like, no, go away.
Tell Sully no,
And
yeah.
then-
and then
yeah.
immediately it just shows him thinking about Sam, and then he calls Sully and he's like,
Yeah,
I'm in.
it was so instantaneous.
No
And for
reason,
me, I was like, all right, that was kind of dumb, but like, all right, I know these characters, they'll get together and do it. But for someone who doesn't know these characters, it's kind of jarring.
I felt that about the beginning Sam exposition too. Like, yeah, I know the Drakes, I know their story, but then he just rips through the orphanage and the treasure, and you're a Drake, and it's like, but you're a Drake, but are you in this universe? Like, I just don't know. And I thought that was like the first 20 minutes of the movie was like rapid fire. For if you didn't know Uncharted, I don't know if you would be like, I don't know what's happening.
Yeah.
It was weird.
So it was actually kind of nice to go and see it with someone who doesn't know these characters. Because for me, I can accept certain things or just be like, I know these characters, like whatever, even if the characters don't really feel like themselves. But for someone who does not know these characters, sometimes I feel like you can get a little lost, or like they expect you to know things or hope that you know things, and some people just don't. So yeah, that was interesting. What are your thoughts on some of the action sequences? So a lot of them are taken from the games. The final scene I thought was pretty cool, and that was not tied. I think it was the best because it didn't have any ties to the games, and so they were able to kind of do whatever they wanted. They kind of changed the auction a little bit, but it
was worse.
It was a very similar feel, and then
really shined on Nate's stupidity to not be able to turn out the lights.
And then the plane scene was basically the same.
But there was a car this time.
There's a car.
So it's different.
Yeah. What were your thoughts on some of the action sequences? I guess there was like combat sequences as well, where they're like going through the
Fight in the Pizza Hut.
Yeah,
was
no,
pretty
it
cool.
was
Papa John's?
Papa John's.
Oh, it was Papa John's. Sorry, my bad.
Papa John himself is protecting that wall,
Yep.
and no one calls the cops.
Oh, not a single
Anyways,
person.
yeah. What are your thoughts on some of the action
I was
sequences?
like 20 minutes long.
Yeah.
The last boat sequence was by far the best.
It's cool.
I thought that was pretty cool. It seemed weird. Yeah, those helicopters were holding up those massive ships, and they were just like swinging.
I
back
mean,
and
to be
forth. It
fair,
seemed a little weird.
if Tom Holland, I don't know, I feels weird calling him Nathan Drake. If he
It
can,
does.
if he can
Drake.
survive that fall from the plane, that whole scene was wild. Then
It was like Fast and Furious.
yeah, where I was like,
It was
I really
awesome.
got to suspend my disbelief here. Then those helicopters, I think, could carry those planes or those boats in this universe.
Yeah, that scene was the best because it was the most different, and it was the same setup as Uncharted 4, but in Uncharted 4, spoilers, they don't get the ships out, and I always wondered what was the game plan here. So to then see a version of what the game plan could have been to actually get that treasure, I thought was fun. But then this is dumb, but like I was thinking when the villains had one ship and Tom and Mark had the other, I was just like, and then the villains divert to T-bone the main character's ship. I was like, yo, you got billions.
Yeah.
Just cut your losses and take half. Just go. They outsmarted you. Just part ways.
Yeah, you should feel lucky that you got the half because you were in the wrong spot, and it was only because you had Spider-Man on his boat driving past.
Yeah, totally. So I thought that it was a great action.
Yeah,
and the cannonball was fun.
Yeah,
I liked a lot of that.
But yeah, Zach, any thoughts on some of the action sequences?
I thought the plane scene was just slightly worse, and I was still a little sour that they had killed the main villain and swapped main villains just shortly before they fell out of the plane, which was greatly upsetting. But yeah, definitely by far the boats from the end of the movie swinging through. Very confusing why they didn't just take the boat and leave, but
movie logic, you gotta suspend disbelief again.
right at the end on that boat, he gets like the holster, so he like finishes his transformation into Nathan Drake.
But Peter to Nathan.
Peter to Nathan. That was pretty cool.
From Tom to Tom.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, there were almost no gunfights. Like, did Nate even fire a gun in this movie until the end? He gets a gun on the ship, and that's it. So I was wondering, like, Uncharted is all about the gunfights. It's like, how are they going to make an Uncharted movie with basically no guns? The villains had some guns, but the main characters really didn't. So now going forward, I wonder, the post-credit scene is Uncharted 1. It is the setup for that movie. Is Nate just going to be, like, shooting guys left and right now because we're at game Nate now? Or is it going to be more weird alternate universe takes on the games where guns really aren't as much as a focus to keep that kind of... Well, it wouldn't work as well as in a movie if they were just popping guys left and right.
So many deaths in those games because that's the gameplay.
Like John Wick at that point. Yeah.
So I just do wonder. But I was a little impressed though with how well they were able to not make me notice the lack of guns when that is such a focus in the games.
Yeah, and I'm glad that they didn't go that direction because it has been pointed out that Nathan Drake is bloodthirsty with the amount of people that he's killed.
God.
Like, the body count is so high. So it was nice that they didn't go that direction. On the alternate universe thing, now that we're seeing like more convergence with like actual main plots from the games, man, I kind of hope that they go off and do their own thing because I don't want to have these timelines get muddied at all with, I guess it already is, but
now Sam's gonna have to be
these
in the
need
plots
to
for
be
the
completely separate because they have already diverged so far from the games that I feel like they kind of have to do their own thing. Because at a certain, besides they can bring in the action scenes, they're going to keep doing that. They want to do that, whatever. But in terms of like story, they've already changed so much that I feel like it'd be kind of hard to bring some of this stuff in because they've already, I feel like, rewritten certain things. So I kind of hope they go off and do their own thing because they are making more movies.
Yeah, I feel that too. By far the best parts of this movie were when they were different. Like the one in hell, one in heaven, where Mark Wahlberg is up top on the streets and
that was cool.
Nate and Chloe are down below. That was different, and it felt like a puzzle you do in the game.
Yeah, totally. I thought that that
new.
Underground scene, the above ground and below ground, was pretty cool. And I mean, Papa John's was a little bit weird, but the fight scene was still kind of cool, despite being in a Papa John's. But
and then when they had to like go through that rave, I thought that was interesting. Just like how culture has built itself around these historic sites that they just have to work through. I thought that was neat.
Just kind of glad that they didn't bust into one of like the rooms with all the stuff in it when they were building out these areas, because apparently it was secret. So lucky play that they didn't bust in any of those ruins. But you know, more stuff that you kind of have to not think about too hard. That is kind of this movie. But
Totally.
yeah, so we kind of alluded to it a little bit, but now that the movie is done quite well at the box office, and now they're like, all right, this is a franchise. Two questions. Where do you see it going, and where do you want it to go from here for whatever comes next with the next movie? Logan, I'll go to you first.
I would, I mean, my dream would be they age him and recast him, but that's not going to happen.
Yeah, that would be incredible, and they're not going to do that.
But I just want the more different, the better. As a super fan of the games, every action scene they took was worse in the movie, because that's just how it's going to be. Because when you're in the games, it feels special because you're doing it. And then when you see it replicated by Tom Holland on screen, it's like, I've seen this before, but it's worse. So I just really would appreciate it if they were more different. And then I'm more curious than anything to see how they're going to incorporate like Sam into the Uncharted 1 plot. Like, what is that movie?
It's gotta be weird.
Yeah.
And Uncharted 1's entirely in a jungle. Like, where are they going to go in that movie? Yeah. Is Elena going to come in? Bring in Elena.
I assume.
She would have to come in at some point. Yeah, I am very curious how they're going to go about that, like, of stitching things together, because what I want them to do is, yes, diverge and, you know, take some, if you want to take some action scenes from the games to be like, oh yeah, we tried that in this. Like, I know they're going to do that, and that's fine. But I do kind of want them to go off and do their own thing and kind of have a different universe, Nathan Drake, because at this point it's just Uncharted light, basically. When I finished watching the movie, I wasn't like, oh, that was a really good movie. It was like, man, I really want to play Uncharted 4. So I'm excited to play the collection whenever I get a PS5. So yeah, I hope they go off in a different direction, but I'm kind of worried that what they're going to do is take those action scenes and take the plots of the games and kind of just like stitch them together, and then just be like, oh wait, we introduced Sam at a different point. Let's bring him in here, and then like it just becomes a mess. And I could see that kind of happening. Zach, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, so we talked about this a little bit, but integrating Sam into any plot going forward is gonna be really weird, because the way you're supposed to do it is that his reintegration goes hand in hand with the thing that you're solving. But the thing that they were working on was the Magellan plot, which they've already solved. So him coming into their, let's say it's El Dorado, he's just going to be along for the ride. He's not going to contribute anything with his return.
He secretly has a huge investment in that one. He's secretly an expert.
He was in the German U-boat in 1945.
Dang.
So I really have no idea how they're going to integrate him into the story. He'll have to have some connection, because they'll have to find him, because I don't know if he's just going to escape from prison or they're going to figure out that he's in there. I don't see how would, outside of maybe him getting a postcard or a letter sent to Nate.
All these postcards.
I see Elena
he's
coming
in. Another one.
They've already set up Eddie, Raja, and Roman, some of the bad guys from the first game. I have no idea if they're going to go with the zombie kind of thing that Uncharted 1 pulls at the end. I think it'd be cool if they did some sort of supernatural things in these movies. So I don't know. I think we just gotta wait and see, because I'm pretty confident it's gonna get made.
Oh yeah. I think the movie has done well enough now that we're gonna get another one, and I don't think it will take near as long as this movie did. Final thoughts on the movie as a whole. I think for me at this point, it's a fine movie. It's got a lot of issues, but we were talking about it the other show, where it's just like, at this point, I'm impressed that the movie came out at all. Like, they went through so many directors, and they've been talking about this movie for so long that I'm honestly surprised that it came out, and the story, while nothing spectacular in any way, was coherent. Like, from start to finish, you know, they were doing the same thing and working towards the same goal, and it all, to some extent, made sense. And at this point, I feel like that's enough for me, and that it didn't offend me with how bad it was. It was average.
And the structure felt very much like Uncharted. You open in the middle of the big action, then you do the young flashback, then you go to the one place, and then you learn it's not the place, so you fly across the world to the other place, and then there's a big battle to end it. It had that structure. It was good enough. What is with these movies, though? Not letting the characters look like they're supposed to till the post-credit scene. They did the exact same thing with Eggman in the Sonic movie, where he looks like Jim Carrey, but a little different. And then he looks like Eggman. And then Sully doesn't get his mustache till the post-credit scene. And not only that, they spoiled both of those post-credit scene moments for Sonic and Uncharted in the trailers.
Yep.
It's like, what are you doing? I don't get this weird formula. It doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, it's weird. Zach?
But it was good enough.
Yeah.
I'll see another one.
Yeah. I'd go to the next one.
Yeah. Begrudgingly, but I will.
Zach?
Yeah.
What was the question?
What the final thoughts of the movie?
Final thoughts, man. Definitely extremely low expectations, so I was pleasantly surprised that it wasn't unbearable to sit through. I think the casting, terrible choice, but the plot beats, had some interesting action sequences, some good puzzles, some solid references. Saw a Naughty Dog sticker in there.
Yeah, speaking of
Nolan
references,
North
what'd you think
cameo.
of Nolan North? I was just like,
I wish I hadn't
be
been
in this
spoiled.
movie. You
Mhm.
kind of look like him, but he
Did
wouldn't
seem
have
a little
any
weird
sort of
for someone who doesn't know who he
cred.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, something similar happened to me once. Like, who are you? What are you talking about?
But
Yeah.
but for the fans of Uncharted, it's just like, there's Nate. He's right there.
Yeah.
That was the one
There.
time that Nate was in the movie.
Give him a
And
gun.
back to Tom Holland, back to Spider-Man and Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I'm just glad it wasn't total garbage. But
Mhm.
yeah, it was
Meh.
yeah.
It was fine.
Yeah.
Can't wait for Sonic 2.
That
I
Sonic
cannot
set,
wait for
yep.
Sonic.
Let's go
Sonic's going to be awesome next month.
Yeah. Man, so many video game movies. Come
God of
on.
War TV show just got announced.
It's true.
Woo. Yeah. All right. Well,
We got to go, huh?
Uncharted. That was it. Glad we got to talk about it. I'm glad that it came out and wasn't the worst thing in the world, but at the same
I'm glad it
time,
came out.
I just, think back to the fan film, and I'm just like, man, I would
Watched it
kill.
yesterday.
I would kill for that cast, for that feel. That feels like Uncharted. This feels like an action movie where somebody puts on a Nathan Drake suit at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
But
And slowly grows a mustache.
it's only grows a mustache at the very end if you stuck around past the initial credits.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. That's going to do it for the spoiler cast. Any last thoughts on this show before we wrap up for this week?
The Monster Hunter digital event next week that I'm excited
Hype.
for.
Ooh.
Sunbreak information.
Talk about that next week, huh? Is that
Yeah.
before the show? I actually get to talk about it
Yes,
next
it's on
week?
Tuesday.
Okay.
It's on Tuesday.
Sweet. All right. Look forward to
Tunic
that.
comes out next week finally.
Ooh.
Excited for that game.
Man, when was that supposed to come out? Has that been delayed or did it just never get a date?
Just never had a date.
It's been
Yeah.
around for a while. Yeah, people have been talking about that game for years. You gonna hop in day one?
We'll see. We'll see where I'm at with Elden Ring and
Yeah.
Pokemon. Two huge games.
And Kirby is staring down
Yeah.
the barrel of Kirby. But yeah, look forward to talk on Monster Hunter next week and more Elden Ring talk, I'm sure. But for this week, that's going to do it for us on Ode to Games. We're here on Thursdays or Fridays, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, odetogames.com, other podcast streaming services that you may use. We're on YouTube at Ode to Games. We're on Twitter at Ode to Games as well. You can send an email to odegamescast@gmail.com. For Logan and Zach, I'm Kevin. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll catch you next week.